I see that e-commerce store owners very often forget that there is a huge difference between a physical store and an online store. At a physical store, your customers can touch the product, so they have the possibility to feel it. And if they have a question, they can ask the seller in the physical store. And these are exactly the 2 points which I sometimes really miss.
You're listening to Customer Growth Sessions, presented by Intergrowth, where we talk through strategies to help up-and-coming e-commerce businesses bring in more customers. I'm your host, Pat Ahern. Let's jump in.
All right, listeners, welcome back to the latest episode of Customer Growth Sessions. Today, I'm thrilled to have on Krisztián Király, the International Partnership Manager and AI-based CRO expert over at OptiMonk. Krisztián, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Pat. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
We're psyched to have you on today. We're going to get into a lot of good stuff with CRO. I think a really good place to start out, can you tell us, maybe just give us an overview, what is OptiMonk, first of all?
Okay, so OptiMonk was established about 12 years ago in Hungary. I would say just as a simple pop-up tool. But with the time, we have discovered that it's definitely not enough to stay in this overcrowded space of e-commerce. So we have added and developed always another features to that, like, for example, built-in A/B testing, personalized on-site messages, and so on. And nowadays, I would say that we are a very comprehensive AI-based CRO tool, which is actually used worldwide from more than 30,000 websites and e-commerce stores.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I assume a lot of listeners are familiar with CRO, conversion rate optimization. Stepping back, though, can you give us a quick synopsis? What do we mean when we say CRO?
It's a very good question, actually, because even to my experience, I'm now from more than a decade working in digital marketing. And even by agencies, I see sometimes, to be very honest, that they don't really know what does it really mean working with conversion rate optimization. Just a short, really short story about that. Last time I had a consultation with an agency. It was a kind of introduction call the first time, just meet and greet. And of course, one of my first questions is like always, okay, I see that you have as a service offers PPC campaigns, SEO, web development, and so on. Are you also doing CRO? Answer was yes. Okay, great. What exactly do you do as conversion rate optimization? And now, watch out, the response was, yes, sometimes we look at Hotjar. It's not bad as a beginning, starting with looking at Hotjar, but we know exactly that is just scratching the surface, and it's definitely not conversion rate optimization. Maybe it's just 1% of them doing a kind of looking at heat maps. So actually, if we take the definition, conversion rate optimization is to do everything in order to bring more value from your existing traffic. And it's very important to note that a conversion goal can be anything what you define as a website or e-commerce store owner that is important for you that your visitors do. Like, for example, conversion goal could be also the sign-up rate for your newsletter. Or, for example, just fill in a form for an online meeting, for a demo meeting. Or, of course, by most of the e-commerce stores, the most important conversion goal is the e-commerce conversion rate. How many of your visitors are definitely finishing the purchase? So it depends on. And conversion rate optimization is all of the workflows which are working on that you can increase this conversion rate in order to increase the number of the conversions. And it always starting, of course, with a deep analyzing to better understand what's going on right now. I have always, I would say, an analog for that, like a leaky bucket. It doesn't make any sense to put more water in a bucket if there is a lot of leaks there. So first of all, you have to identify where are the biggest leaks on your bucket, fix them, and then afterwards it makes sense to put more water in that, which means to increase your traffic.
Hey, listeners, if you're terrified about how much your business's revenue comes from Amazon, this is for you. I get it. Amazon's a double-edged sword. It's a really powerful sales channel, but at the same time become too reliant on Amazon, and you put yourself in a dangerous scenario where you're just biding your time until Amazon cannibalizes all your sales and rolls out the Amazon Basics version of your product. I've seen it happen a lot of times. That's ultimately why we help businesses to diversify away from Amazon by building a secondary and then tertiary revenue stream so that if Amazon rolls out the Amazon Basics version of your product, you don't see your sales go down to zero. If you're interested in learning more, book a free strategy session with me at intergrowth.com/CGS. Once again, that's intergrowth.com/CGS. And I love the leaky bucket analogy. So you mentioned what I perceived as data collection as really phase one, collecting a bunch of data, figuring out where some of these holes are in your leaky bucket. Let's start out there. So let's say I want to work with a slightly simplified example. Let's say that we're running an e-com shop. I've used the example of pillows on like a million podcast episodes, so I'm starting to become somewhat of a pillow expert now. But let's stick with the pillow example for simplicity because it's front of mind. Let's say I'm running a pillow shop. I have, an email subscription box somewhere on my website. I obviously want to drive purchases. Maybe there's not like that subscription component in the mix yet, but big conversion elements I'm tracking or want to see improve, let's say, are more people signing up for my newsletter, more people purchasing my pillows. Those are the two things I really care about. What are some of the data points, first of all, that I should be really focused on collecting during this first phase? And walk me through a couple of the ways that I might go about actually collecting these data points.
It's a very good question. So I would say I would start the whole process, definitely, as I have mentioned before, with a deep analysis to better understand what's going on now, actually, in my pillow e-commerce store, and what the data show, and what's actually behind the data. What does it mean? What I would definitely start with, it would be a quantitative and a qualitative analysis. Under quantitative analysis, I mean at least deep data analysis with the help of Google Analytics, for example, or if you are running already some PPC ads, Meta ads, Google ads, also have access to these dashboards and look at the data and make a deep analysis in order to get better concept about it, what the data is showing. And on the other part, also make a kind of qualitative analysis, because there are some data points which you can see, but actually you still don't know the reason for that. Just one example. If you see, for example, in Google Analytics, that on the product page, there is a high bounce rate, which means there are a lot of visitors there, but don't add any product, any pillows to the cart. You see, okay, there is a leak on the bucket, but you don't know the reason for that. So in that case, you have to start with qualitative analysis, which means one possibility is to start gathering feedbacks from visitors. Like, for example, in that moment, when is a visitor already a product page, spent at least, let's say, 1 minute on the product page, but didn't add any item to the cart, so deep segmentation. When they would try to leave the site, in that moment, just show them a message, show them an exit intent pop-up. Hey, can you please just tell us the reason? Why did you purchase by us? 1, 2, 3 options, and maybe also a free text possibility that they can write the answer themselves. It could be very, very insightful. I say from my experience, sometimes we get answers, sometimes we get responses, which we didn't expect, actually. It was sometimes even quite surprising for us or for the e-commerce store owners as well. What was the reason for that? And on the other part, what I have mentioned already, there are a lot of tools already on the market, like Hotjar, Clarity, Crazy Egg, you name it. And if you connect it with your website or with your pillow e-commerce store, you have the possibility to generate heat maps, and which is even more important, session recordings. And it's great. It's a wonderful possibility to watch live what actually your visitors are doing at your site. How do they behave? Where do they click? How do they scroll? And sometimes, I have watched hundreds or even thousands of such kind of session recordings. And sometimes it's also really surprising, even amazing that Jesus Christ, they behave completely different how we imagined it before. like, for example, we thought it's very simple and easy. They should use this call to action button. Nobody clicked on it. Or or the opposite, that we thought, okay, nobody will find it, and they have found it. So it's a very good way to know your customers better, and it could help you so much to give you some directions how to improve your website, what to do, what you shouldn't do, actually. And standing on these two pillars, data analysis, so quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis, feedbacks from visitors, session recordings, you're going to have a very strong basement on that. What should you fix? And I tell you at the beginning, you're going to have a long list. And here again, one suggestion from me, use the bottleneck system, because your e-commerce store will be never ready. I have never seen in my life an e-commerce store which was perfect. It will be always something to optimize. It will be always something to improve. So in order to get a structured workflow on it, I would definitely recommend you to use the bottleneck method, which means take a closer look at the possibilities. Where is the point, or where are the points when you start with it, when you touch it with the least investment with money, time, and energy? Can you make the biggest impacts? And there you should start and work on it through your whole priority lists and through your whole to-do lists.
One of the things I loved about what you shared there is I heard a lot of, there's not necessarily one practice that is always the right answer. As you said, sometimes you had a CTA, a call to action, that just doesn't help in any way. But most times, adding a CTA is going to be a big benefit. I'm curious what you see as some of those, call it generalized industry best practices that would be a really good place to start for that bottleneck system. Are there 2 to 3 big initiatives that maybe you can update, let's say on like a product page, that are in many scenarios a really good place to start with experiment?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, what I would like to mention, again, back to this topic, that as you have discovered very well, I don't believe on the holy grail. I don't think there is always just one point is missing. If you do this one, then everything will be fine. I don't believe on this. It's just very, very rarely the case that it's only one point to fix, that it's only one failure. Usually, what I have experienced so far, there are several things. Each one, if you fix it, if you adjust it, gives you just a tiny, tiny percent, maybe 0.5%. But if you add them, they start to work in synergy. And at the end of the day, if you put all of them on your fixing list, this will make a huge impact. A lot of tiny things together. But there are, of course, some general rules, which I would definitely recommend to all of to all of the e-commerce store owners, like regarding the product page, which you have mentioned. So, for example, what I see that e-commerce store owners very often forget, that there is a huge difference between a physical store and an online store. At a physical store, your customers can touch the product, so they have the possibility to feel it. And if they have a question, they can ask the seller in the physical store. And these are exactly the 2 points which I sometimes really miss in the e-commerce stores. What does it mean? For example, for the picture, for the products, there is one product picture with a white background. Nobody can imagine, for example, the sizes for that. Nobody can imagine how to use it in everyday life. So I would definitely recommend you to use at least 4, 5, 6 very good quality product pictures. Even better if you use a product video where you can actually show your product in everyday use, how to use it. Point number 1. Point number 2, give the opportunity to your customers, to your visitors, to ask immediately. I mean, nowadays with the AI chatbots, it's not a big challenge anymore, but it's really important that if they are already at the product page, so just short before purchasing, they don't want to wait. They don't want to call you. They don't want to write you an email. Nobody has so much time nowadays. They want to get an answer now in 3 seconds. So it's very important to give them the opportunity. If they have any questions, they can ask, and you should respond to them immediately.
Absolutely. And just one little fun story on those lines. I think it was maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, my wife and I were getting a new table for our home. And some of the platforms that we looked at, we'd look at a couple different tables, and we ran into scenarios where some of these tables didn't even have size dimensions on them. And it seems as a consumer, it seems so obvious, but as a business owner, it can be so easy to forget because you're seeing the product, you're interacting with the product every day. It can be so easy to forget. Like there are so many little details like this that customers are never going to know about unless you make it really easy for them.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So always try
Amazing.
to think with the head of your customers. I think it's a very good general advice.
Definitely. So next thing I'd love to jump into on the note of leaky buckets, we talked about a handful of the items that can be really good to start out with. I'm curious, at what point would you say, or maybe what signals can I look for with my pillow company that my leaky bucket has a massive amount of holes in it that are really holding back sales versus, hey, there are some holes in here. It'd be good to invest some resources in it, but it's already performing pretty well as is. Things are going to vary obviously pretty drastically across different industries, but are there certain maybe conversion benchmarks that I should be looking for to say, okay, our site's already at a really great place or our site is at a terrible place?
So first of all, regarding e-commerce conversion rates, the international average benchmark is between 2 and 3%, which means that usually from 100 visitors should at least 2 or 3 purchase. If you have a lower or a higher e-commerce conversion rates, it can depend, of course, on a lot of other factors as well. So it doesn't mean immediately that you are doing something wrong because it depends on how many competitors you have, on the situation of the market. Is it a seasonal product or not? So a lot of factors. But if you have, a very extremely low e-commerce conversion rate, like for example, what I have seen last time, 0.2%, it's definitely a sign for that it's something wrong. There is a leaky bucket here. The second one, which I would definitely mention, I don't know who said it the first time. I'm pretty sure you know it as well. I love this quote that says that the most dangerous number in any business is the number one. And it's the same for digital marketing. Like, for example, if you have only one traffic channel, it's very dangerous. So if all your visitors are coming, just an example, from Meta ads, and just imagine next week the Facebook algorithm will be changed and you won't be able to run your campaigns, your ads anymore. What you gonna do? So it's very important, I think, also in digital marketing to build up a kind of diversified portfolio, like we say, it's so very nice. So stay on different sources, on different traffic channels. So pay attention to PPC campaigns at the beginning to generate traffic. But start, of course, building your list, email marketing, start generating organic traffic, SEO, and so on. There are nowadays a lot of possibilities on social media and different other channels, but it's really important that you don't do yourself dependent from one traffic source because it could be very dangerous for you on the long term.
Hey, listeners, if unpredictable revenue is keeping you up at night, this is for you. Most e-commerce brands don't have an advertising problem. They have a predictability problem. Pat from Intergrowth here. We help brands to build a profitable meta ad system for their business within 90 days. If you're interested in learning more, go to intergrowth.com/CGS to book a strategy session with our team. Once again, that's intergrowth.com/CGS. And that's something we definitely see with a lot of e-com brands that we work with. And for me, I would actually say the biggest channel that sticks out to me as like really dangerous, particularly and on the diversification front, is a lot of e-com brands that we'll talk to start out selling on Amazon. They get to a point where they're generating a really healthy number of like recurring sales on Amazon. They start ranking on Amazon organic product search results. And, it kind of feels like this gravy train that's never going to go away. And then all of a sudden you have a competitor that comes into the market that underprices you. Amazon rolls out the Amazon basics. And, course of like a month, maybe your sales go from 100K a month to 5K per month. So I'm a big believer in that as well. Build out one, maybe two really exceptional channels and then look to diversify as soon as possible.
Yes, definitely. Or another example, which I have seen, there was an e-commerce store. They had a very high organic traffic. Almost 70% of the visitors came from organic traffic, which sounds very great. Free of charge visitors coming from Google. Mhm. But now, as we know exactly, AI has changed the whole era and their organic traffic dropped like crazy because we know exactly that Google overview and AI features now actually decreasing the number of clicks. And exactly that happened to them as well. And as I remember, they have lost almost 50% of their traffic and, of course, also their revenue. So you should really take care about it, that you build it up systematically, that you are not depending from one traffic source, from one channel.
Oh, definitely. And we've definitely seen some brands that have encountered similar things. Oftentimes I would say the trend that we've seen is the brands maybe that didn't take necessarily the most long-term approach with SEO, haven't thought about how search as a whole is evolving in the AI landscape, and are still focused on just optimizing for Google rather than
Yeah.
optimizing for Google, Bing, LLMs, you name it, really any source that you can get your business out there as an informational, call it data point for people to find online.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So we talked through a couple of those things that would be really good to experiment with, let's say on product pages. Can we walk through how we might go about designing one or two of these experiments? Say rough numbers. We said, 2 to 3% conversion rate for like a product page is a good benchmark that we could aim for. So let's say my main pillow product page has a conversion rate of 0.5% right now. So it's performing pretty bottom of the pack. I know there's a lot of stuff I can do on there, and I'm thinking, hey, here's a laundry list of 10 updates I can roll out. Can you walk us through how would we go about pulling together that initial set of data points? How would we go about maybe designing an experiment? And what I'd also really like to understand within that is what should we look to as like a minimum number of call it quantitative data points, whether it be number of visitors, whether it be number of sales, number of add to carts. What's a good benchmark for kind of like the minimum data point we should look at to say, hey, this experiment definitely led to way better results versus this actually declined results. Let's revert back to the old version.
It's actually a very good and a very important question, Pat, because I always say that digital marketing and, of course, also conversion rate optimization, it's a game of big numbers. I even tell sometimes to our clients, to e-commerce store owners, that if they have less traffic, for example, it doesn't make too much sense to start with CRO or even to start with our AI features because actually they don't have a CRO problem. They have a traffic problem. And regarding the exact numbers, I would say that, for example, by an OptiMonk campaign, let it be just a pop-up for a newsletter sign-up rate. If it didn't reach at least 1,000 impressions, so at least 1,000 visitors have seen it, it doesn't make any sense to start to draw conclusions. If it delivers good results or if it delivers bad results. It doesn't make any sense. Even if it's have 8% conversion rates, it doesn't mean anything. You had maybe just luck. But after 1,000 impressions, 1,000 visitors have seen it, it starts to make sense to analyze it. But for example, regarding this, we give, even with the help of our AI tool, built-in AI tool, a big help to our clients, because in our dashboard, in the A/B testing, there is also a built-in, I would say, algorithm counter, which shows you exactly the possibility, how exact is the result, which you can see. That, for example, okay, it's 50%, you should gather more data. And when you have achieved at least 96, 97% of possibility that now it's a very high chance that, for example, version B is performing better, then you can make the decision that, okay, version B will be switched on, version A will be switched off. Sorry, I don't remember the first question because I have started with the second question because it was very important to deeply understand it, that it's really actually the game of big numbers.
Oh, of course. And that gives a really good data point to say, 1,000 impressions, really good benchmark. Make sure you get at least 1,000 impressions on whatever experiment you're running before you determine, is it successful or is it unsuccessful? So let's stick with this email pop-up. Let's say I'm hoping to boost our number of email subscribers. My plan is, hey, if we can get 20% more email subscribers. We can nurture them. We can sell to them over time. That's going to be a great way to boost our revenue. So we decide, hey, let's add an email pop-up to the website. Or we decide that we're going to add an email pop-up to the website. We need to get 1,000 impressions for it. Walk me through how we might go about, like what data points, I guess I would say, that we can collect, what tools we can look towards. And I'm trying to think how granular we want to get in the creative side of things. Let's talk about the creative side of things at a very high level. And what I mean by that is, how many do we want to go to the extent of, let's test out 4 different email pop-ups and let's just have them be identical, aside from one has a green button, one has an orange button, so on and so forth. Do we want to test out like larger discrepancies between those? So one, design A is drastically different from design B. How do you typically advise brands approach that side of things?
So first of all, I would say that doing more than 2 versions, so like A/B testing, it makes only sense if you have really huge traffic. For example, to testing 4 different versions at the same time, because otherwise, if you don't have enough big traffic, it will take a long time that all of the versions get enough impressions, and then you can gather enough data to draw conclusions which one is performing better. So I would say that usually in every average cases, it's enough just testing 2 different versions. And very important, it can be only one difference between the 2 versions. It's very important to note, because sometimes I see they are testing A/B testing, but completely different pop-ups or completely different creatives or messages. So it means that if one is performing, how do you know which point was actually performing better? The color of the call to action button, the headline, the message, the picture. How do you know it? You don't have any chance. So actually in that case, even the A/B testing doesn't make too much sense, let's be honest. So really pay attention that there is only one difference between the 2 versions, that you can know exactly what was the reason for that one of the 2 versions was performing better. And secondly, by the pop-ups, let's take this example, but you have mentioned, I would like to gather sign-ups rates for my newsletters. So let's get back to our basic recommendation. Start to think with your customer's mind. Because I have already, I'm sometimes also keynote speaker by big Hungarian events. And as I was a speaker on the stage, I told my audience that there is one very important thing what you should note regarding a pop-up. It doesn't matter which software are we talking about. Pop-up is just a tool. It's not good and not bad. It's like the knife. It's similar. Is the knife good or bad? Well, it depends on. You can kill somebody with it, or you can even rescue the life for somebody. So it's depending definitely on the human nature who is using the tool. And maybe it's a very hard example, but the pop-up is the same, because I have seen so much use cases, so much examples. And really the 2 biggest opposites of the same side is that sometimes they are really annoying, just jumping up every 5 seconds with the same message. And that's the reason actually why I know a lot of people hate pop-ups. And they are right. Even I hate it when I see that every 5 seconds the same message. They are just annoying me and interrupting me by browsing the website or the e-commerce store. Or another example, I've just arrived on a website or on the e-commerce store, and within 2 seconds a pop-up come up, hey, do you want a discount? For what? I didn't have the chance to look around. What products do you have? What do you offer? What are your USPs? I don't know anything about you. Why do I need your discount code? I don't even know if I would like to buy from you. Sorry. Give me a time. Give me a chance. Just look around. So there are a lot of possibilities. So therefore, really, just try to think a little bit with your customer's head. Like, okay, give them at least 30 seconds. Just an example, that they can look around, that they can get a first impression from you. Or, for example, of course, try with basic segmentation. Like, for example, if they have subscribed already, don't show them this pop-up anymore, because I see it also very often. I have already subscribed it, but I get again this very nice new message. Would you like to subscribe to our newsletter? No, I'm already there. Or, for example, try to set up a kind of limitation. So for example, by us, you can adjust it exactly. How often can it be shown to one visitor? Like, for example, what I recommend very often to the same visitor, show it maximum 2 times. And between the two impressions should be at least 2-3 hours, so that in one session they just see it one time. That's enough. And there are really a lot of other possibilities, but just try to think about it. How would you feel it? Because sometimes they forget it. I mean, that there is also always another side. Just imagine if you are a visitor, what would you like to prefer? How would you feel yourself? It would be shown to your face every 5 seconds, a different message. So think on customer journey. It makes much more sense.
Brilliant, brilliant. Krisztián, this has been amazing. I think the last big theme that really stands out to me is OptiMonk, I would say, like, in my eyes, particularly over the past year, has been doing a lot of really incredible things, integrating AI into what you guys are building. Can you take a minute, a couple of minutes to walk us through how AI personalization in particular can really be integrated into a lot of this CRO elements through something like OptiMonk?
Mhm. I would mention 2 examples, 2 use cases, which are, I think, very exciting and could be even a game changer for most of the e-commerce stores. Let's start with the classic pop-ups for newsletter signups, because we were talking about it recently. Nowadays, with the help of OptiMonk AI, it's already possible the hyper-personalized pop-ups, which means that you don't show the same general static pop-up to every visitor, but you are now able with OptiMonk to show every visitor a different message, a different headline, and even a different creative, even a different product picture, for example, based on their search intent. And we know exactly higher relevance equals higher conversion rates. So therefore, it's very important, firstly, focus on customer experience, and then later on, as a result, you can get then better results, better conversion rates. So hyper-personalized, AI-powered pop-ups. The second use case, which is maybe a little bit even more exciting, this is the product page optimization feature, which is not even a pop-up. It's an embedded content which looks totally native, just like a part of the product page. So actually your visitors don't even recognize that they are looking at an OptiMonk campaign. They think it's just a part of the product page. And we know exactly product page is the new landing page, as most of the e-commerce stores are running now PMAX campaigns, which means that most of the visitors are landing directly on the product page. They don't even see the category pages or the main pages. So therefore, I think it's very important to optimize it as deeply as possible. So, and the best part is it that this embedded content, this part of the product page, can be changed and regenerated automatically with the help of AI, which means that OptiMonk AI is connected with a product feed of the e-commerce store. It pulls out all the data from that. And based on that data, we can regenerate, for example, the product pictures, what we were talking about before. Because these product pictures with a white background or with a transparent PNG could be good for Google, but definitely not for the human visitors. And with our built-in AI now, we are able to regenerate these product pictures to make them more alive, to put them in everyday life, how to use it, how does it look like on your table, how does it look like, for example, last time it was very nice. It was an e-commerce store selling small motorcycles and quads for children. And we could show these products, how the children are using it. So it's much more compelling, much more attractive for your visitors. And we can also regenerate from the product description much more compelling texts, like, for example, AI-based headlines or even AI-based benefit lists, just to summarize the biggest advantages of your product. Because let's be honest, if you have a long product description, nobody will read it, or maximum 1 or 2% of your visitors, because nobody has so much time. Everybody wants immediately response to their questions, immediately solution to their problems. So they don't want to take 10 minutes to read the product description. Or for example, even one of our newest feature that we combined these two options, which means that the benefit lists, the USPs of your products, we create from them small icons like badges, and we put it on your product image, on the product page. And it looks really just geniusly. And it's not just an assumption that it works well, because we have already also the first case study about it. It's a US-based e-commerce store. It's you can read it if you're interested in our website, of course. But the most important part of it is we have achieved 43% uplift in revenue thanks to this product page optimization. So it works really well, I think.
So for listeners that are hearing this saying, hey, OptiMonk seems like a really good place for us to start out with a lot of this CRO testing and just adding in a lot of different like AI personalization elements. Where can they go to sign up for OptiMonk? Where can they find you guys online?
So it's actually very simple. Just look after OptiMonk.com and you're going to find there a call to action button, sign up for a free account. So actually we have a free forever account. So you have the endless possibility to play around with it, just test it, just see it with your own eyes. What kind of results can we deliver to you in your website or in your e-commerce store? And and afterwards, there are also, if you like it, what you see, and if you are satisfied with the results, there are also, of course, paid plans. It depends on your traffic. So it's very simple and easy by us, very transparent, the pricing, because it's just based on impressions. So easy. The higher the traffic, the higher is the monthly plans.
Brilliant. I know I'm putting you on the spot with this one. Any chance that listeners can get a like some sort of discount code for if they sign up for a paid plan?
Absolutely, Pat. I'm absolutely happy to offer you a special discount code, the coupon code, only for your listeners. We're going to put it afterwards here beneath the video. If you use this coupon code by signing up for an OptiMonk account, then we are happy to offer you 50% discount for the first 3 months. So you can just use it for the half price.
Amazing. I'm putting you on the spot here. Is there any chance we can just do the name of the podcast, just Customer Growth Sessions, rather than having like a random string of characters that no one's going to remember?
Deal. Handshake.
Oh man, I'll sync with you after this. We'll make sure we get the correct like spelling and spacing. But listeners, check out the show notes if you want to sign up for a paid plan. OptiMonk's awesome. Definitely, at the very least, sign up for a free plan. But definitely would encourage you to try out the paid plan. Krisztián, this has been amazing. Last thing I wanted to ask, where can listeners find you online?
So what I would recommend, just look after me on LinkedIn. I know my name is not so easy, but you can just maybe copy paste it. So I'm happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Or we have also our own YouTube channel, so you can reach out anytime. And of course, if you are interested maybe on our partnership program, we have a dedicated landing page on our website as well, OptiMonk.com, partnership program. And then there you're going to even find my calendar link. So if you are interested, you can schedule a call with me anytime. I'm happy to help you and support you in any cases.
Manager of OptiMonk, Krisztián Király. Krisztián, thank you for coming on today. This was phenomenal.
Thank you very much, Pat. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thanks for tuning in to Customer Growth Sessions. If you found it helpful, subscribe and give us a review. It helps us to grow the show. Looking for more SEO guidance on how to grow your business? Contact us at intergrowth.com/estimator or email me directly. You can reach me at pat@intergrowth.com. That's all for today. We'll see you again soon.